Hey guys, gals, and NBs, I'm here today with the TEO-5 and the Take-5, and we're going to make the same patch on two different synths and see how they compare. I made a song the other day. It's called Lo-Fi Horizons. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it if you like, electronic music. And I used the TEO-5, and I made the patch on two different synths to see which one I would like more to use in that particular song. And it was really hard to choose, so I want to take you for the journey of how I made the patch and how it sounds on both synths, because the filters are very, very different. I'll be using a square wave on both of them, two oscillators, square waves, and the sub oscillator, so it'll sound pretty cool. But yeah, I guess let's just get started. So let's make an init patch on both of these. So right here and right here. Now we have an init patch, and they should. And I volume matched these. As you can tell, this is a lot quieter by default until you go into the menu and bring up the volume than this one is. But not a big deal. We're going to keep them volume matched. So. And like I did in my initial comparison between these two, you could really tell that the envelopes are quite a bit different by default. So you almost have it's almost like a gated on and off like an organ on the TEO-5 by default. And you have a little bit of release on the Take-5. I mean, I guess it just tapers off a little bit. I guess it might just be like the curves. And you can tell that the TEO-5 sounds quite a bit brighter. Alright, I guess let's get started with just the basic waveforms, shall we? So we're going to use square waves on both oscillators on both synths, and we're going to make it quite a bit of, it's going to be very narrow. So here, let's turn on the second oscillator. Let's bring in the, we'll bring in the sub later, but. Alright, and we're gonna, to do a narrow, let's do this. We're gonna bring these both into just a standard square. Sounds like there's actually a lot more variance between the oscillators on the TEO-5. Maybe I need to do a calibration. But whatever, that'll add to the vintage charm. But yeah, so quite a bit brighter on the TEO-5. I guess the pulse width modulation, or the pulse width on each of the oscillators isn't fully calibrated. I mean, I've been calibrating the TEO-5 quite a bit, but here, all right. So now we're going to make it narrow, and it's quite easy to do on the TEO-5 for both oscillators because you actually have a pulse width knob. And of course you can do it just per oscillator, but we want both oscillators to sound about the same. So we want it to be pretty narrow. Okay. So it's a little harder to do on this because you have to do it per oscillator. So let's just we didn't bring up the second oscillator there. Whoops. Oh, I guess it's because they're kind of like beating off of each other. I see. There's our variance. Both of them have it. Not quite. Whoops. That was pitch. Whoops, I'm bad. Open up the filter a little more on this one. Yeah, I don't think we can, I mean, we can get narrow. We can go to the point where it's like nothing. Guess that's about as close as we're really going to get without me just spending so much time on it, but that's fine. It'll work. It's pretty damn close, I think. Let's bring in the sub oscillator on both. So sub on the, oh yeah, there we go. Of course, you don't have to have all or nothing on this. This actually, if you hold it down, if I see that, see, you can set the oscillator levels just like you can on here. It's just an extra step by holding that down. So. All right, let's give some release to both of them. As you can tell, the envelopes are quite a bit different in terms of their curves. So. This still sounds quite a bit brighter, and you can kind of really hear that filter kind of get excited when you hit it with such a rich sound. Alright, so now what we want to do is we're going to turn the filter down on both, because we're going to shape the sound using the filter envelope, because then we can get some of the character of the resonance in it. And then we're also getting a lot of character of the filter when we do that. So let's turn it all the way down on both. We should get nothing. Yep, we don't get bleed through on the TEO-5, even though it's a 12 dB per octave filter. And obviously, because the Take-5 uses a 24 dB per octave Prophet style filter, we've got the SEM filter over here and the Prophet style filter. I'm kind of making this video just to show I love both filters, and I kind of love them equally, but they just have different characters for different sounds. So yeah, nothing's coming through. That's great. So let's go ahead and shape the envelope over here. Okay, let's make sure that sustain is down. And I think, actually, hold on. We want to have the... Yeah, I want to have this sustain up here a little higher. Make sure it's good over here too. Now this synth is actually quite a bit louder, huh? Interesting. Alright, well, let's volume match that, of course. Oh, that's about right, okay. Cool, so yeah, filter down on both again. We should get nothing. Oh, we have this because I have the amount up, but yeah, nothing there. All right, so let's do that. Let's shape the filter. We want to make sure the sustain on the filter envelope is down. Oh, that's good. Now we want to turn the release quite a bit up. Yeah, getting there. Let's give it a little more amount, I guess. No. We'll get a little more brightness when we engage some resonance, but God, that sounds really good. You're like, you're really exciting that SEM filter. Yeah, I like that. A little more release. A little more decay, maybe. All the way open. It's a little much. Yeah, I think that's really good. Let's go over here and do the same thing. really good. All right, let's add a little resonance over here. Let's bring down a low split here so we can hear the lower octave. We'll do the same here. And that's one of the things where we can really hear the difference. I know I haven't engaged resonance over here on the Take-5 yet, but you'll notice that the Take-5 has a much smoother, just more rounded bottom end, where the TEO-5 has a much harsher, still musical, but more of like a synthwavy bottom end. Resonance is quite a bit, the resonance characteristics, especially on short envelope times like that, where you have like a pluck going on, are quite a bit different. See. This seems to have a lot more bite in the bottom end. I should say more of like well, obviously a resonance, but it kind of has that like, I don't know how else to explain it. It's definitely not smoother in the bottom end, but I think that the mids and top end of the TEO-5's filter are a lot smoother than the Take-5's when you have high resonance. Try a different key. Maybe we need to bring up a little more filter amount. Maybe that's what I choose. Guess we're getting a little closer there, but yeah, see, it still has quite a bit of sonic difference. All right, yeah, they both sound nice, like I said. We have a little, I mean, obviously this has the just the niceness of the filter being excited, like I said, when you really push it. But on the Take-5, we also have the drive character. I know it's subtle, but yeah, let's keep it off for now. So And let's add one of my favorite things that I love to add on sequential synths, and that is pan spread. So we're going to go over here to voice spread. There it is. Now we're going to go over to panning, I believe. Let's see. All right, panning. Yeah, there we go. We're going to turn it up to 100. We're going to turn it up to 100 on both. So 100 here. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to go over to pan or voice spread, which should be, did I pass it already? No, there's note number. Oops, I did. Of course I did. All right, let's see. Voice spread. Yay. And then I really wish we had a shortcut for that. I keep complaining about that. We should have a shortcut for panning. Did I go past it? Oh, I did. Of course I did. All right, 100. All right, now obviously you need to be listening to this in stereo to get the full effect, but... Let's do something fun. Actually, let me do that right. All right, we're going to turn the speed down to 72 beats per minute. Clock division of 1/16 is fine. Do the same here. I went up, didn't I? Whoops. Okay. All right. Yeah, at least we're going to use the arpeggiator later because that's what I used in that song. But now we're going to add the delay to both of them. We're going to use the BBD delay because it's I believe somebody was asking on one of the forums that I was looking at on these two synths and asking if the effects are the same. I believe they're the same. They sound the same to me. So let's go to the BBD on both. We're already, the default effect on this on a new patch is always BBD. I wish that was the same over here because I use it so much and I think a lot of people do. Now we can clock sync it. And we're going to turn the time to around here, I believe. Well, I'll play. A little less feedback there. We'll do the same over here. All right, obviously still much different characteristics of that filter. We're going to go ahead and use the ARP though. Let's use it on both. Switch it to 2 octaves. Let's do a bass note to start out with. Really nice, really crisp, really defined, and you're going to get a little bit more of a mellow, like low end on the Take 5, so listen. still have that bite, but it has a little bit more bottom end, I think. Take a little more resonance off the Take-5 because it is very aggressive compared to the resonance on the TEO-5. I think we still have a little too much envelope control over the filter on the Take-5. Let's take that down a little. So by default, with at least similar settings, I really think that the TEO-5 for this specific patch sounds better. But one thing we still have over here on the Take-5 is that drive control for the filter. So let's play with that and get maybe even a nicer bottom end over here. All right. Yeah. Sounding really good, right? I mean, I think they both sound very good. They have very different characters. I mean, you can obviously use one for a different genre than the other. Somebody asked me what I would pick for a TEO-5 or a Take-5, and they were asking specifically, they come from a jazz background, I believe classical piano. Get the Take-5. The Prophet filter does good with jazz fusion. It's one of the things, unless you're gonna go like spring for something like a mini Moog or the new what is the new Moog-ish synth, or like a Trigon, I'd go for the Take-5. That Prophet filter does, especially with high resonance, it really does fill like a niche for a jazz fusion style synth. Obviously, if you're going to be doing synthwave and things like that, a lot of modern stuff, or retro futuristic stuff like 80s style stuff, or you're doing some vaporwave style things that you're going to remix later. Yeah, TEO-5, but yeah. All right, but we're missing one key thing that we need to do on both of them, and that is detune one of the oscillators. So on here, we can detune second oscillator really simply by doing this. So what we can do is we can take it here. Let's listen. We'll use a low frequency. You get natural chorusing with that. Well, you know, it's funny to say natural chorusing because there's nothing natural about either of these. These are both digital, or sorry, they're not digital instruments. They're electronic instruments. They're hybrid instruments, obviously, because you have digital control over analog components. And I did verify recently. Somebody brought up that they were, I don't know. They just brought up the fact that, yeah, they thought that the VCAs in both of these are analog. Well, I contacted Oberheim, at least on the TEO-5, and obviously since it's sequential, their support got back to me. They gave me the answer saying that the post-filter amplification on both of these, like I thought, is digital. It's done in DSP. Not a big deal. That actually has a major feature that you can do with that, obviously, because you can literally use the audio rate output of this as a modulation source, which is really unique. I've explored that a little bit. I will probably make some videos where I use that in some patches. It gives you so much flexibility. It's weird on an analog synth. The rest of this thing, both of these things are pretty much analog. Yes, the overdrive effect is also digital on both these, but it's a nice sounding overdrive. Anyway, that said, here with that little detune, you're going to want to do it by ear, and you're going to do it by how your synth is calibrated. So if it's in good calibration, obviously you're going to use a little bit more detune. If it is not as temperature stable and you haven't been doing a lot of calibration cycles like I have, then you probably need to add a little less on the detune. But yeah, so yeah. I think that's dialed in perfectly over here. Let's dial it in on the Take-5. We're going to use oscillator 2 as the detune oscillator 2 just to keep it, you know, congruent, since this is the detune of oscillator 2. If you really listen to that, especially how that's like bouncing and that has that ARP going, it feels like Autobahn, doesn't it? I guess we'll add a little more over here, shall we? Maybe we have a little too much over here. I think that sounds pretty good. Maybe we can add a little bit more pulse. Oh yeah, that sounds great, doesn't it? Alright, well, I guess that's enough time to put into this. This video is already extremely long, where I just really showed two patches that I tried to make on both synths, and even as close as we got with most of the sound style, at least with raw oscillator sounds, at least I tried to get as close as we could. The envelopes are kind of really hard to get close to each other, but obviously that filter is going to sound a little different, and the way the detune is implemented sounds a little different on both. The pulse width modulation is about the same on both. It's a little harder to dial in on the Take-5 for both oscillators because you have control over both directly on it. You have control over both on this, obviously, too, but it's a little, you have to hold this and then you can set it for both. Obviously, see how you have oscillator 1 PWM and then you can control it there. But yeah, it's just, you know what I'm saying. This is easier to do on both. Yeah, so they both sound fantastic. They both have a different place in what kind of musical styles you want to use for it. As you heard, even in a similar patch, with how the resonances work on both of them and how the filters get excited over each other, how you have drive over here, obviously. It's just very different, at least on this specific patch. Yes, you can get both of them sounding very similar, but that's not the point. You want to embrace the differences between the synths and figure out really what you want as a sound designer or, keys player. And yeah, they're very different once you really start pushing those filters, in my opinion. That's what I wanted to demonstrate in this video. In my last video where I did a comparison of these, I was trying to show that they can be very similar. I didn't do the best comparison in figuring out what the strengths are on both. Obviously, they both sound fantastic. They both have very similar feature sets. They both have, well, obviously the SEM filter isn't known for sucking out your low end anyway when you push up resonance, but the original Prophet filters definitely are, and this is a bass compensated Prophet filter, so you don't get that low end suck when you turn up resonance. So that's really convenient on both. They both can get pretty damn bassy, obviously, as you heard there. This sounds fuller when you're trying to do bassy sounds. That's where I'm getting at, especially when you detune and push that filter. And this sounds a lot cleaner and a lot shimmerier and a lot more of that 80s style. Or like if you're going to use this in synth pop, this is more of like your synth rock. Well, I don't know, synth rock even a genre? It's more synth pop. But yeah, you would use this more in like a rock, classic rock style context, or like, you know, jazz fusion, or just jazz in general. That's what my feeling is with how this one sounds. And TEO-5, again, more modern genres, and obviously your synth wavy shit. So now I'm getting kind of carried away. It's just a lot of fun playing with both these synths. Anyway, I hope this video like helps somebody out. I really enjoyed making it, even though this is unbelievably terrible to film because, again, I do this on the floor on a tabletop, and my camera is in a very suspicious place right now, being held up with bungee cords to keep it from falling down and breaking. But yeah, it was fun to film. I might do more of these. If you like these kind of comparison videos, then I should do that. I kind of want to do like a comparison video against the Trigon 6 and the Novation Peak. I don't know if that'd be very interesting for people, but since they're both modules that I have, why not? And they're both 3 oscillator, right? It'd be something fun. They both can do what is it? It's, well, 12 dB. I was going to say, well, what am I trying to think of here? Well, they can both do 12 dB per octave and 24 dB per octave. So you have the, you know, yeah, that said, anyway, thanks for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like my content, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. Bye.